stops us in our tracks. Bravely we prove in our striving, trudging together each day. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Good afternoon. It's always good to have therapy. Even though I didn't really have much to talk about today. I just talked about random shit. Good afternoon, Michelle. It's good to see you. I'm going to be covering Tradition 2 today. It's about the group conscience or group conscience, the group conscience. Group consciences are usually held every single month, usually once a month. And a group conscience where we get together, okay? And I don't know that we're going to be doing it this time around. If we don't do it our next group conscious is this Thursday. It's usually right after a meeting. And there's a cadence to group consciouses. All right, let's do this. How does an AA group do a group inventory? See, we're supposed to be doing group inventories also, and we're going to be doing a group inventory. It's kind of like the first step, but not really. We're not going to be talking about character defects, things like that. It's just what's the purpose of our group, right? So what is it? Let's see, where is it? Doesn't really tell us. Setting the stage. So you got to have purpose, tone, examining key areas. But really, this isn't really what I was looking for. Some groups take inventory by examining our 12 traditions one at a time, determine how well they are living up to these principles. But a group inventory, what we do is, are we helping the newcomer? What are we doing? What is there something that we can do better to reach the newcomer? Are there things that we can do to create attraction and not promotion? Those types of things. That way, everybody's kind of on the same page, and you can get a lot more done. All right, let's get to the reading. We're going to be in the 12 by 12 today on Tradition 2, which is on page 132. Welcome to Daily Trudge. I'm Dion. If you're here, please say hello, whether you're watching the live or the rewatch. I need to look something up here real quick. I'm just curious. Gosh darn it, where'd I put that? Oh, grassroots stuff. April chair sign up. Today's the 22nd. All right. Maria will be cool. I don't think Maria is as chaired yet. So that'll be interesting. Be good to have her. That's the other thing about groups is you should try and switch around who is chairing the meeting a lot. I mean, having one person on Monday, even that gets to be a little too much. People should be signing up to chair. At least that's been my experience. Anyway, so Tradition 2 for our group conscious. There's but one ultimate authority, a loving God as he may express himself in our group conscious. Our leaders are but trusted servants. They do not govern. And the group is looking for direction, just like the individual is. But we do it as a group. And this is one of the common bonds that we have together. We may have varied opinions. We may have varied experiences and these things. But what we're trying to find out is the common good of our community. Good afternoon, Heather. It's good to see you. So let's get started. Where does AA get all of its direction? Well, God. There you go. Great. Thanks for being here. Who runs it? This too is a puzzler for every friend and newcomer. when told that our society has no president having authority to govern it, no treasurer who can compel the payment of any dues, no board of directors who can cast an erring member into outer darkness, when indeed no AA can give another directive or enforce obedience. Our friends gasp and exclaim, "This simply can't be. There must be an angle." Why is there always got to be an angle? Not trying to hide anything. In fact, when you do this, then what happens is you become more transparent. And we want transparency. It's what we want. Hi, Amber. Good to see you. These practical folk then read tradition 2 and learn that the sole authorité in AA, excuse me, is a loving God as he may express himself in our group conscious. They dubiously ask an experienced AA member if this really works. The member, sane to all appearances, sane to all appearances, so clear this person might know what they're talking about, immediately answers, "Yes, it definitely does." The friends mutter that this looks vague, nebulous, pretty naive to them. Then they commence to watch with speculative eyes, pick up a fragment of AA history, and soon have the solid facts. What are these facts of AA life which brought us to this apparently impractical principle? John Doe, a good AA moves to, let's say, Middleton, USA. Alone now, he reflects he may not be able to stay sober or even alive unless he passes on to other alcoholics what was so freely given him. He feels a spiritual and ethical compulsion because hundreds may be suffering within reach of his help. Then, too, he misses his home group. He needs other alcoholics as much as they need him. He visits preachers, doctors, editors, policemen, and bartenders, with the result that Middleton now has a group and he is the founder. All right. Grassroots in the beginning had a founder. I was the founder. I still kind of am, but not really. Not really. Good to be here again. Last one, I was headed home, 4.5 hour drive. Heather, you are committed. You are committed. Well, I hope you are home and safe now. All right. So I was the founder. Okay. But the goal was to release any control that I had. It was to release all of it. I wrote the format. I got the Venmo. I did the seventh tradition. I got people there. I list this on DACA. I got it started. But sooner, does it make it mine, though? No, it does not. No. I was the founder. Yay. There we go. Okay. And a lot of people tell me they appreciate that I did it. And so that's where I get my accolades. I don't need more than that. I want people to come in and be like, okay, this needs to be taken over. Right? Like the chips. Tyler just took them over. He's like, it needs to be done. I'll go ahead and take care of it. There we go. It's so cool to watch that me coming up with a decent idea and watching the group turn it into a better one. Even if I disagree. Yep. Doesn't matter. I should be replaced eventually. Yes, I should. Okay. Being the founder, he is at first the boss. Who else could be? Very soon, though, his assumed authority to run everything begins to be shared with those first alcoholics he has helped. At this moment, the benign dictator becomes the chairman of the committee composed of his friends. These are the growing group's hierarchy of service, self-appointed, of course, because there is no other way. In a matter of months, AA booms in Middleton. Actually, it's Middletown, but so much easier to say Middleton, and it's more fun. The founder and his friends channel spirituality to newcomers, hire halls, make hospital arrangements, and entreat their wives to brew gallons of coffee. Being on the human side, the founder and his friends may bask in a little glory. There's a satisfaction to it. There's a satisfaction to starting a new meeting. There is. Right. So and you do bask in a little bit of glory. That should be about the extent of it. Now, they say to one another, perhaps it would be a good idea if we continue to keep a firm hand on AA in this town. Now, that's a bad idea. After all, we are experienced. Besides, look at all the good we've done these drunks. They should be grateful. Oh, that would not come out of my mouth. I don't expect people to be grateful because I did service work. I don't need it. True, founders and their friends are sometimes wiser and more humble than this, but more often at this stage, they are not. See, I've done this before. This is the first time I've helped start several meetings. There's one meeting that goes on that I helped start in 1989, and it's still going. There's only 2 of us left alive of the original members. Only 2 of us left. Right. Pretty soon I'll be the only one left. So what? Is it cool history? Sure, but it's history, right? Hi, Patricia. Good afternoon. Growing pains now beset the group. Grassroots is going through growing pains right now. And we're handling it like champs, man. Panhandlers, panty, lonely hearts pine, problems descend like an avalanche. Doesn't seem to be happening in our group. Yet, it'll happen eventually. It just happens. Still more important, murmurs are heard in the body politic, which swell in July crowd. Do these old-timers think they can run this group forever? Let's have an election. The founder and his friends are hurt and depressed. They run from crisis to crisis and from member to member pleading, but it's no use. The revolution is on. The group conscious is about to take over. There's a saying that we have in AA, and it's called the spirit of rotation. There's one time somebody said, "Hey, we're celebrating down at Day at a Time Club because this one person was the treasurer for 20 years." And I said, "They're 19 years too late. I'm not going to go celebrate the abuse of a tradition. Are you kidding me? 20 years? 20 years? I would call that selfish. Power, control. Yeah. And then to have a party about it. Oh, I'm retiring from being the treasurer for 20 years. You're only supposed to be a treasurer for a year. Yeah. And then it goes on to the next person so they can enjoy the benefits of doing service work also. So give up your positions. Or the revolution may be on. Now comes the election. If the founder and his friends have served well, they may, to their surprise, be reinstated for a time. Maybe. If, however, they have heavily resisted the rising tide of democracy, they may be summarily beached. And they should be if they're fighting it. What were the intentions of starting the group? Was it for you? In either case, the group now has a so-called rotating committee, very sharply limited in its authority. Doesn't have any authority. Not one person has authority. It's got to be taken by a group vote. And some votes require all yes or all no's. Or I should just say all yeses. If there's one no, then it doesn't pass. All right. And there's a lot of things that should be voted on. And there's a process. There's a process to it, right? So, in no sense whatever can its members govern or direct the group. They are servants. So, see, I may have been the founder of the meeting, but what I am is a servant. My job is to meet other people where they are at so we can help them. And that is a servant. Okay. Now, service work is servant work. Claire says, and sometimes you have to step away so someone else can get busy. Absolutely. All right. I don't know why it reminds me of that, but if you're in a meeting and you're chairing and nobody's speaking, call on people. Oh, but what if they want to talk? Fuck that. We're in an AA meeting, and sometimes people want to be called on, or they. How many times you heard this? Well, I wasn't going to say anything, and then they talk for 10 minutes. See, they did have something to say, right? Theirs is sometimes the thankless privilege of doing the group's chores. Headed by the chairman, they look after public relations and arrange meetings. Their treasurer, strictly accountable, takes money from the hat that is passed, banks it, pays the rent and other bills, and makes a regular report at business meetings. The secretary sees that literature's on the table, looks after the phone answering service, answers the mail, and sends out notice of meetings. Such are the simple services that enable the group to function. The committee gives no spiritual advice, judges no one's conduct, issues no orders. Every one of them may be promptly eliminated at the next election if they try this. And so they make the belated discovery that they are really servants, not senators. These are the universal experiences. These are universal experiences. Thus, throughout AA, does the group conscious decree the terms upon which its leaders shall serve. Now, it works different for some meetings. Some meetings will not let you attend the group conscious unless that is your home group. Or you might be able to attend the group conscious, but you don't get to say anything, nor do you get to vote. We do not do it that way in grassroots. If you are a member of AA, home group or not, if you've been in the program 7 days or 7 years or 70 years, none of that matters. You're allowed to vote. We want to hear from you. We're going to give you a chance to speak. Okay, but we got to remember principles before personalities. When it comes to these AA groups, we might have good ideas, but then we bring it to the group and they're like, well, that breaks tradition. We love you, but sorry. Can't get butthurt over that, man. Just move on to the next thing. Nobody owns the group. Nobody runs the group. God does that. God runs the group. All right. This brings up the straight question. Does AA have any real leadership? Of course we do. Of course we do. There's some people that recover out loud a little bit more. I feel like I'm a leader in AA. Absolutely, I feel that way. I have a lot of education behind this, and I have a lot of experience. I have a lot of knowledge about it, and I want to give it away. But does the leadership, does it come with control or power? No. It needs to come with humility. That I'm allowed to be a leader. I'm allowed. See? It goes from that have to I get to be a leader. And that in and of itself brings its own benefits. Yes, notwithstanding the apparent lack of it, let's turn again to the deposed founder and his friends. What becomes of them as their grief and anxiety wear away as subtle change begins? Ultimately, and this is true, ultimately they divide into two known classes in AA slang as the elder statements and the bleeding deacons. All right, there's a lot of complaining going on right now. I mean, there are people that I cannot believe what people will say to get pity from other people. And these are people in the recovery or running recovery. So right now, there's two types of people going on in our industry. They're the people that are whining, the bleeding deacons, or the people that are being proactive, the elder statesmen. Yeah. Clara Joyce says, always in a teachable position, which I believe is a yoga position, is it not? I don't know. Just kidding. The elder statement is the one who sees the wisdom of the group's decision, who holds no resentment over his reduced status. What reduced status? There's nothing, you just have a different position now. Or maybe you just kind of moved on. So what? There's no there if you see it as something less than, then maybe you shouldn't be in that position in the first place. Right? Whose judgment, fortified by considerable experience, is sound and is willing to sit quiet on the sidelines, patiently awaiting developments. The bleeding deacon is the one who's just surely convinced that the group cannot get along without him, who constantly connives for re-election to office and who continues to be consumed with self-pity. A huge hemorrhage so badly drained of all AA spirit principles, they got drunk. I've seen that happen. Mm-hmm. At times, the AA landscape seemed to be littered with bleeding forms. Nearly every old timer in our society has gone through this process in some degree. Happily, most of them survive and live to become elder statesmen. They become the real and permanent leadership of AA. Theirs is the quiet opinion. I'm not quiet. I'm more of an elder statesman personally, but I ain't quiet about it. I'm not. I don't sit on the sideline patiently waiting for things to develop. No, I get involved. I still get involved. So maybe I'm half and half. I don't know. All right. They become theirs is the quiet opinion, the sure knowledge and humble example that resolve a crisis. When sorely perplexed, the group inevitably turns to them for advice. They become the voice of the group conscious. In fact, these are the true voice of Alcoholics Anonymous. They do not drive by mandate, they lead by example. That's it. You can't see it over there, but that Club Trudge, little circle above it, it says leadership by example. It is the mantra of trudging together. We lead by example. It's the only way that we do it. When AA was only 3 years old, an event occurred demonstrating this principle. One of our first AA, entirely contrary to his own desires, was obliged to conform to group opinion. Here's the story in his words. And this is Bill. They're talking about Bill. One day I was doing a 12-step job at a hospital in New York. The proprietor, Charlie, summoned me to his office. Bill, he said, well, now you know, huh? Sorry, I needed a little talking juice. Billy said, I think it's a shame that you are financially so hard up. All around you, these drunks are getting well and making money. But you're giving this work full time and you're broke. It isn't fair. Charlie fished in his desk and came up with the old financial statement. Handing it to me, continued, this shows the kind of money the hospital used to make back in the 20s. Thousands of dollars a month. It should be doing just as well now, and it would if you would only help me. So why don't you move your work in here? I'll give you an office, a decent drawing account, and a very healthy slice of the profits. 3 years ago, when my head doctor Silkworth began to tell me of the idea of helping drunks by spirituality, I thought it was crackpot stuff, but I've changed my mind. Someday, this bunch of ex-drunks of yours will fill Madison Square Garden, and I don't see why you should starve meanwhile. What I propose is perfectly ethical. You can become a lay therapist and more successful than anybody in the business. Charlie's a selfish fuck, just so you know. He wants more money. So here's the problem in this. Okay. Oh, we need more clients. See? It's not what AA does. We don't work that way. We are an attraction, not promotion. Now, if we meet somebody and they need medical help, yeah, we're going to send them to you because we can't do it, right? But what Charlie is proposing here is actually very selfish on his part. But in a way, but what he is proposing is not unethical either. It's not. I was bowled over. There were a few twinges of conscience until I saw how really ethical Charlie's proposal was. There was nothing wrong with with becoming a lay therapist, except your very clear lack of education. But who am I to say? I thought of Lois coming home exhausted from the department store each day, only to cook supper for a house full of drunks who weren't playing board. I thought of a large sum of money still owing my Wall Street creditors. I thought of a few of my alcoholic friends who were making as much money as ever. Why shouldn't I do as well as they? Although I asked Charlie for a little time to consider it, my own mind was made up about it. Racing back to Brooklyn on the subway, I had a seeming flash of divine guidance. It was only a single sentence, but most convincing. In fact, it came right out of the Bible. A voice kept saying to me, "The laborer is worthy of his hire." Arriving home, I found Lois cooking as usual, while three drunks looked hungry on from the kitchen floor. I drew her aside to tell her the glorious news. She looked interested, but not as excited as I thought she should be. Okay, so the mistake here is, number one, he thought it was a good idea in his own head before he even asked anybody. And even at this point, Lois is like, I don't know that, I don't know that that's going to work for you, Bob. He had an expectation that his wife was going to be as excited as him, and he didn't receive that. See, these are already indicators that something is off. It was meeting night. Although none of the alcoholics we boarded seemed to get sober, some others had. With their wives, they crowded into our downstairs parlor. At once, I burst into the story of my opportunity. Never shall I forget their impassive faces. And a steady gaze focused upon me. With waning enthusiasm, my tail trailed off to the end. There was a long silence. All right. Heather's asking a question. It's a very pertinent question here. How is Charlie's proposition different from rehab centers fishing for clients? Did I miss something? There's not much difference, Heather. Okay. And I hear what you're saying, but rehab is not AA. Sober Livings is not AA. No. Recovery center organizations are not AA. AA does not do this stuff. And what they were asking him to do was 12th step for money. That's what they were asking them to do. Okay. There's a very, 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 very thin red line, a very thin line between the two. And that's why we have to be careful. Okay. What's the best way to put it without me going into some long explanation? Alcoholics Anonymous, our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety, right? So when I went to work, when I was working as a peer support specialist, I was hired. That means I was paid money. I was not an AA member. I couldn't talk about God. I couldn't really talk about spiritual things, right? They might take you to AA meetings. They might be AA or 12th step based, but that is as far as it goes. Amber says, I tried rehab and they didn't do AA, so I left. They just wanted my money. Yeah. And now they lump addicts and alcoholics together. We're back to lumping addiction and mental health together, which did not work in the past either. But let's read on and maybe it'll answer your question a little bit better. All right. Almost timidly, one of my friends began to speak. We know how hard up you are, Bill. It bothers us a lot. We've often wondered what we might do about it. But I think I speak for everyone here when I say that what you now propose bothers us an awful lot more. The speaker's voice grew more confident. Don't you realize, he went on, that you can never become a professional? He went on that you can never become a professional as generous as Charlie has been to us. Don't you see that we can't tie this thing up with this hospital or any other? You can't tell us that Charlie's proposal is ethical. Sure, it's ethical, but what we've got won't run on ethics alone. It has to be better. Sure, Charlie's idea was a good one, but it isn't good enough. This is a matter of life or death, Bill, and nothing but the very best will do. So what they're talking about is that altruistic movement that we have. So if Bill would have taken that job and he tried to get people sober, he would fail. Based on AA experience alone, he would fail. With no education in the field, he would fail. Why? Because there would be an expectation of money and they would no longer listen to him because he was being paid. We cannot have depth and weight and make money at the same time. It does not work as well. And I know that from experience. Does it work? Yes. Are there people in the field of alcoholism that are also recovered alcoholics? Yes, but they are educated with years of education. All right. Challengingly, my friends looked at me as though their spokesman continued. Bill, haven't you often said right here in this meeting that sometimes the good of the enemy is the best? Well, this plays a plain case. You can't do this to us. So spoke the group conscious. The group was right, and I was wrong. The voice on the subway was not the voice of God. Here was the true voice welling up out of my friends. I listened, and thank God I obeyed. If he would have taken that job, that means that AA would have been committed. AA itself would have been committed to an institution on alcoholic education according to how they wanted it, and then AA would fall apart indeed. It would. It would. It would. It would. All right. Well, that's tradition 2. I appreciate everybody. Denver Recovery Center, yeah, they changed their name because Denver Recovery Center was a piece of shit and everybody knew it. So they changed their name so you'd start going back to them. Yeah, they did that a while ago. Companies do that often. They get a bad rap for something. They just change their name so that, but they're still doing the same stuff. There's a lot of abuse in the recovery field. Okay, the recovery field has become big business, and that's why it has been destroyed. Everybody's running around saying, "Oh, I've reinvented the wheel," and I was just looking at one Facebook ad, and they had the nerve, they had the actual gall to say, "We will show you how to control your drinking." Control, and I put control, and then just laughed. I just laughed. I'm like, okay, good luck on that. That just tells me, oh, what do we got? We got an unhealed alcoholic. So, all right. So it's the group conscious that needs to speak. Just for anything, I've heard some ridiculous things brought to the table, like if we take our money and put it towards a 3-quarter house. No, we cannot. No, we don't go into business. And that would affect AA as a whole and to give it a bad reputation. The recovery is 2 things, always free and simple. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I appreciate it. Got our 5 o'clock meeting today. Starts in 1 hour and 8 minutes. If you'd like to join us, you don't have the link, just reach out to me. It's not hard to find me. Pretty much everywhere. I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere. See you soon. I love you. You know I do. Peace out.